Sky burials are performed in Tibet. Since there is little wood for burning bodies in Tibet, a practice of allowing vultures to pick the bodies clean evolved. Once picked clean, the bones are grounded up and fed to crows. Funerary cannibalism is performed in Africa and Oceania. The dead are eaten by mourners as an act of compassion or to absorb the life force of the deceased. They cremate the body and mix the ashes with the banana paste. They then eat it to gain the life force of the deceased. The catacombs worldwide. These are underground places reserved for common burials of the dead. The nature of the catacombs are to allow for mourners of even traitors, martyrs, or heretics to gather and mourn without the fear of city authorities. Burials at sea of unknown origin. This is an ancient tradition with roots so deep they're difficult to trace. Sometimes when a body cannot be located, a cenotaph rather than a body may be symbolically thrown into the sea. Ecological burial is performed worldwide. In modern times, some people wish to be buried in a more eco-friendly way. Instead of taking up space in a graveyard, this form of burial emphasizes quick decaying of the body. Body positioning burial done worldwide. Christian burials have been orientated with the head pointing west and the feet pointing east. In Islam, bodies are put perpendicular to Mecca with the face looking towards it, and if it is a suicide, thief, or an assassin, they may be buried upside down or at a crossroads. Air sacrifices are performed in Mongolia. A holy man called a lama guides the family and the body of the deceased to its source, where the family lays the body out in the open and makes an outline with stones. They then allow the hungry dogs and birds to devour the corpse, leaving only an outline of the representation of the dead body's spirit. Kiribati skull ritual is performed in Central Pacific and the Republic of Kiribati. A few months after burial, the body is exhumed and the skull is taken. The family of the deceased will polish it, oil it, preserve it, and display the skull in their homes. Sometimes offerings of food and tobacco are made to it. Fantasy coffin funerals performed in Ghana. The Kane Kiwi Company workshop in Ghana is famous for creating fantasy coffins that are fun ways to celebrate life at a funeral. Some are shaped like cars, aeroplanes, or even fish. They always have something to do with the life of the deceased. Eternal Reef burials performed in Florida, USA. The ashes of the dead are mixed into a concrete material with a natural pH. The concrete is then shaped and textured into a reef ball, lowered into the ocean where marine life and coral reef will take root. Burial in space takes place in the USA. Companies like Celestis Inc. and Elysium Space offer to take your ashes into orbit around the Earth. For a more expensive price, you can send a loved one's ashes on a one-way trip to the moon. Death masks are performed in ancient Egypt. The earliest found was not a direct cast of the face, but rather a stylized carving. Later Romans would cast the face of the dead in wax, and in Europe death masks were made with wax or plaster. Etruscan cities of the dead performed in ancient Egypt. Imagine a graveyard with every grave being an elaborate tomb. This kind of necropolis exists in Egypt, and especially interesting varieties were created by the ancients. These cities have many chambers, and every corpse has its own room, complete with furniture. Chambers also were connected by city streets. Psychopomps are performed in the Philippines and worldwide. They are spirits, angels, or deities who guide the souls of the deceased to the underworld. They act as a guide for the dead relative to find the underworld. So, on a person's deathbed, if they call out for a relative, the spirit at the bedside will then help guide them to the afterlife.